The CEO of the hottest AI startup in the world joins us to talk about talent, tech, and his challenge to Google. All that and more coming up right after this. Welcome to Big Technology Podcast, a show for cool-headed, nuanced conversation of the tech world and beyond. Let's go deep today with the CEO of the one startup I think that's really changing the way that we think about AI and how it can have a role in challenging incumbents. And not surprisingly, it's coming in the world of search. We're joined today by Aravind Srinivas. He's the CEO of Perplexity, and he's here to talk to us all about his company and also the state of the industry. Aravind, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here, Alex.
Thanks for being here. So with your permission, I'd love to talk a little bit about the industry and then go into your specific challenge to Google, because you have some amazing experience. You've been at Google, you've been in DeepMind as an intern, and then also working at OpenAI. So I feel like in your position, you're probably one of the best people in the world that can tell us, what's going on with these bigger companies and the race for talent, all of these things. Let me start with this. You have 10 million users, last count. Your company is a search company. So instead of going to Google, you'd go to Perplexity, you type your question in, you get a paragraph or two in conversational AI with some links at the top telling people where to go, and it's really taking off. When I look around thinking about what other generative AI startups there are that have gained traction, it's not a very long list. I mean, character AI is worth $1 billion, but I don't hear anybody using that. But your company people use. You're ranked above Google Calendar on the App Store. I think you were number 9 on the top charts last time I checked. Is this what would you attribute this struggle for startups to take off in the generative AI space to? And is my view of this kind of closed-minded, or am I hitting on something that's right here?
It's mostly accurate. There's some nuance. For
Yeah,
example,
let's hear it.
you don't hear people around you using character AI because it's also not a product that people would be very proud of saying they use it.
Okay.
Its use cases are more meant for these lonely people who are looking for companionship in their life. So it's sort of more like a personal activity, and also it's more popular among the younger generation. Like 50 to 60% of their user base is under the age of 20,
Right.
because they're using it to talk to imaginary anime characters and things like that. So it's a very different sector of product, more on the entertainment sector and less on the productivity or utility sector. So we are in the productivity sector, and as for in general, for any startup, it's pretty hard to gain widespread adoption.
Right,
First of
but
all,
this
it's hard to launch a good product,
for
right?
sure. But
For
this
everybody.
technology is supposed to change the world. People are talking about how it's going to be the end of civilization. For something that powerful, you would imagine there would be more.
Yeah, but it takes time. For example, it takes a lot of time for people to change their habits, adopt a new. I mean, how many times do you adopt a new app? It took me personally a very long time to start using Instagram,
Hmm.
Twitter, um, even WhatsApp. Even I'm only started using WhatsApp a lot more recently, and I used to stick to I just want to stick to FB Messenger or like Google Chat. So it takes a while for you to truly change your habits, and we are also facing this, right? Like it's all relative. Okay, but relative to other products and generative AI startups, we have more adoption, but then relative to ChatGPT or Google, we are like way lower, right? So.
Hmm.
Uh, it takes time, and I'm not very negative about other startups. I also think there are products outside the sector that you're focusing on that are taking off. Like Levin Labs is a startup that has a lot of adoption. As a podcaster, you might be aware of it. There are like a lot of tools there to edit stuff, and then many other interesting companies. But for us, the potential is a lot bigger than any of these others, because the the quest for knowledge and information is the ultimate thing ever since humanity has started evolving as a society, right? We've always
Hmm.
sought more information, always sought more knowledge, sought a better understanding of the world. So I think that's why this product has no upper bound, honestly, because it's upper bounded by the number of people on the planet multiplied by each individual's curiosity, and curiosity has no upper bound either, right? So therefore, by mathematically, the TAM of Perplexity has no upper bound.
Right.
That's why I'm very excited about this company.
And you're also competing against Google. So, and you've been
Yeah.
inside Google. Can you explain what's going on there culturally? Because they have been very slow to share it. Obviously, they have this incumbent problem, right? They're like
Yeah.
so entrenched in one form of search, they haven't been able to do the other. But they also, I'm curious, like if you could just kind of talk about the culture there, because they have gone from this company that everybody like hailed as like the beacon of innovation, 20%
Yeah.
time, which was I think before your time, but to one that
Yeah.
really can't get its act together shipping. Is it
Yeah.
that they don't have the right talent? Is it the process there? Is it leadership? What would you say is going on within Google?
I certainly don't think it's because of talent. I mean, you have to be insane to think you have more talented people than Google. I don't even think OpenAI has that, even though like they have a massive concentration of talent density today. Um, I think it's more to do with the bureaucracy, and the culture, and leadership. These are the three main reasons why they're not able to do it. But in our case, the argument goes even further, which is probably the fourth thing and the most important thing, is even if they wanted to do a product like Perplexity and roll it out on google.com, that domain, the ultimate domain of the internet, they cannot do it that fast. They cannot do it even slowly. It's very hard because uh, the bedrock of their business model is sending traffic to other people, sending like link clicks, link views. So that's why there's two terms in their business model called cost per thousand views (CPM) and
Mm-hmm.
cost per click (CPC). And as an advertiser, you're bidding on certain keywords based on the CPM and the CPC, and there's an auction model, and like it arbitrarily drives up, and Google Analytics gives you like which keywords are getting a high CPC and CPM and the number of views and things like that. So it's basically that is their business model. Like the 10 blue links user interface. That's literally where they built $1 trillion in market cap. And now like someone else is coming and saying, "Hey, I don't need that UI anymore. I'm going to just give you answers."
Mm-hmm.
And that you're still going to get the sources as if it were a citation, but not in a way where they're presented in a vertical order. And that basically disrupts the whole business model. It's not that they cannot build a product like Perplexity. They can very easily do that literally today. Like they probably already have something internally like that. But they cannot roll it out to every Google user. Uh,
Right.
even okay, think about it this way, right? If Perplexity, uh, let's say only 10% of the searches on Perplexity lead to an outgoing link click, that's like 90% of the searches don't lead to outgoing traffic anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Even like 0.5% reduction in the CPC or CPM will cost Google a lot in market cap. You saw like what happened in the last week's earnings calls where they just missed ad revenue expectations by $1 billion, just $1 billion, and the stock went down by 5%, despite making revenue go up in other areas like Google Cloud or subscription revenues on YouTube. Just because they missed the ad revenue expectations by $1 billion, their stock went down by 5%. Now imagine if the ad revenue went down by 10%. 10%. I'm not even talking about like 10x.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to create a pandemonium there. Wall Street's going to get mad and like start like shorting them and buying stocks in like Microsoft or because here's the thing, by the way. At one point, if you wanted to invest in AI, you could only invest in Google. They were synonymous with AI itself. Now, if you wanted to invest in AI, you could invest in Microsoft, you could invest in Meta, you could invest in Nvidia. There are like so many other alternatives that are positioning themselves as like the leaders in AI that if you're on Wall Street, you're like, hey, look, there are only two reasons to invest in this company. One is AI and the other is ads. And ads is shrinking and they're no longer the only leader in AI. So why am I holding their stock? I'm going to go and buy the other ones,
Right.
right? So when that happens, employees, their actual compensation just goes down. And they all start leaving and they go join OpenAI or other alternatives.
Have you been
And
able to recruit from Google pretty easily?
I have tried to. There was one amazing candidate that I tried to recruit from Google. This candidate used to work in I mean, he still works there, in the Google search team. Like it's not one of the AI people. And the moment he told them that he's going to join us, they quadrupled his offer.
Damn.
They quadrupled it. Like I've never seen that. Like, look, I've also negotiated my offers and stuff. So I've never seen, and I've heard of friends who have done that. I've never ever seen anybody say my offer got
4x.
4x.
Yeah.
You know.
So what about these
So
people? I mean, Google's done mass layoffs recently. Are they cutting the people that are, who can handle AI work, but just don't like fit on a certain team? Or like, are those people that you feel like you could scoop up? Or what are the people that Google's cutting? Like, are they cutting smartly? Like, are they cutting the people who just can't handle this new wave of technology? Or is it even a different skill set?
honestly, I don't know who they are letting go of.
That's
Is it based
crazy.
on
I mean, I would
performance, or
imagine they'd be knocking on your door. But
is
yeah,
it based on performance, or is it based on something else? I actually don't have a clear sense.
I don't think even people inside the company have a clear sense.
Yeah, one thing I was told is they let go of people who have very high compensation but don't produce that much. So in Google, you can be on vacation and nobody cares because the company is not really affected by that, right? Um, but they began caring recently, at least for the people that they're paying a lot. They're like, okay, look, I'm gonna look at my spend on comp and see who are the major people I'm paying most, and I'm gonna see if they're really adding value. If not, I'm gonna let them go. That's what I was told. That's how they designed the whole layoff system. That's what I was told externally. I don't know if this is true, by the way.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the product, because
Yeah,
you're creating an AI search engine, you've created it.
yeah.
What is the problem with search today that you're trying to solve? Because it's one thing to say, hey, we have this cool technology, let's just
That's
apply
right.
it in like a logical way. But you have to see a glaring issue with this multi-trillion-dollar business of search to be
Right.
like, okay, we're actually going to do something different.
Right. So the fundamental problem with search today is that you waste a lot of time, right? Like you're looking for something, you get a bunch of links. These links are sort of not exactly ordered in the way that should save your time, but ordered in the way that makes Google more money. You're getting the answer that 10 salespeople are trying to give you at the same time, not the answer that a friend of yours who has used all these different services or products comes and tells you in a nice summarized way of like what is good or bad. Let's say you're like going and asking a friend of yours like which car you should buy. They're not going to tell you what's the best thing about each, uh, you know, car, or like each of these cars are trying to bid for against one another to get your attention. What they're going to tell you is like, hey, look, I use all these things, I use two or three cars, and this is the best thing about this is the best thing about that, and what do you want, like what is it that you're interested in. There'll be a back and forth interaction with you. Oh, like I actually like mileage more, or like I'm looking for electric car because I care about the environment. Like that sort of an interaction, that sort of personalization doesn't happen today in search, right? And there is no incentive for Google to save your time in searches, by the way, because the whole point for them is like you spend as much time opening like 10 tabs on Chrome, the browser they control, and give the analytics to all of these independent website publishers and like brands of like how much traffic they're driving to each of you, based on how many users they're driving to each of you, right? So they're working for the advertiser, not for the user. So there is an opportunity for a new entrant here that can directly work for the user and like build a business model that's more aligned with the user interest than with the advertiser interest. So that's what we are trying to do.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it is almost like a different category of search, right? You've talked about it already, like it's
Yeah,
curiosity, right? Like
yeah, yeah.
Google's almost like I need to get to the facts right away, like hit me with them. Or like where's this what is the answer to this question? Well, I
Uh
guess you
huh.
guys could do that too. But you
Yeah,
actually inspire different queries, right? Like
yeah.
I saw in your Twitter feed you were asking Perplexity what's the next trillion dollar company. and it said it was the Ozempic maker. And it's like these type of searches are completely, I would say, incremental and new and different than the actual searches we would do with Google.
Yeah, I mean, I generally think that you know there's like a new segment of searches that these products like Perplexity or ChatGPT are creating, which is like making people actually ask well-informed questions. Because we were not asking questions until now, we were just entering keywords. Like in Google kind of spoiled us over 2 decades to just type in keywords, and we wouldn't even type the full keyword; they would auto complete it for us, and like we would just like click on that, go and read the links, and waste time, right? So the first time you have this unique power to talk to a computer like a human, where you can just go and ask questions. Now we all need to get used to that power first. We suddenly got it. We never knew this was coming. It was not incrementally given to us. It just happened all of a sudden. And then you're like, okay, what do I do with it? Now you're like thinking about what to do with it. But the reality is, this should have been the way you interacted with search engines all along. Like, you're not coming and talking to me, Arvind, and asking like, Google, Perplexity, right? You're like asking, what is Perplexity doing that Google cannot do? Like, why is Google not able to do this? Like, these are actual questions. Now you got the unique ability to ask the same kind of questions in the same conversational way to an AI.
But I'm
That's
also
amazing.
wondering how big this can actually be, because it's interesting. Like Kevin Roos wrote this story. I'm sure, I mean, you spoke to him for it. Can this AI powered search engine replace Google? It has for me. But it's not actually a full replace. He even writes later in the article that he's not gotten rid of Google. And so I do wonder, like, if this is something that can fully replace Google, or is it just going to be something that you would use for a subset of questions you might not type into a traditional search engine?
Yeah, let me give you a more nuanced perspective here. Now, there are 2 points on a line. Um, the left point is navigational searches. The right point is directly giving you an answer. So the left is traditional search engine. Right is answer engine. We are on the right, and Google can be considered on the left. Except Google has done a lot of work already to move more towards the right by preserving as much as possible of the left. By the way, I don't want you to think about it like left wing, right wing here. Like
Yeah. No, we're not going there.
it's just like mathematical. Now, Google is trying to keep its link UI, link interface, but also try to give you answers whenever possible. That could include weather, time, sports, election results, all sorts of things, or like just getting to a website really quickly, the browser navigation. Now, Perplexity is giving you answers all the time, but that's not the only way you want to interact with the web. You sometimes just want the like you're doing calculations. Sometimes you're doing you want the time in a particular city, and then you want like NBA scores, and like you want if there's an ongoing election, you want to track like how many seats each candidate has won. So all that stuff doesn't need a large language model that can pull sources from different parts of the web and summarize these sources. So we are approaching the problem from a different end of the line, and Google's approaching the problem from a different end of the line, except we don't have any business model to defend.
Right.
So we can actually create.
But what I'm trying to say is it might not actually be you versus Google. It might be you and Google.
Possible, I don't want to think about it as them versus us either.
Right.
My sense is that if we are the place for de facto information and accurate information on the internet, it will definitely make a dent on them. I'm not, clearly like, their whole image is that they are the only place on the internet for facts.
Is that
that's
really their image?
Well, yeah, like you go ask anybody, they just say, "Have you Googled it?" Right? Have you Googled it?
Yeah.
That means
okay.
like
I buy that.
yeah. So I think that will definitely change. There's going to be more ways in which you can learn about anything.
I mean, the
or get
behavior
any
is
fact.
also so different. I mean,
Yeah.
so let's see. This is a stat that actually Perplexity pulled out for me, so fact check it. But in October 2023, it said you had 40.35 million visits, and the average session duration, and this is like the really interesting thing,
Yeah.
21 minutes and 58 seconds, which you would imagine on inside a Google page, it's just might be a minute.
So that's the thing, right? Like I just feel like the idea in our product is to make people more curious and engage and ask more questions. In fact, our the whole idea of a follow-up question was something we innovated on, where we would suggest to you what follow-up question to ask. You know why we did that? There's number one skill that actually is a bottleneck for these products to really take off is the ability to ask good questions.
Oh yeah, because
Like,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, your human mind is not great at articulating a question. We're all very curious. We're all super curious people, but we not all of us have the skill to translate that curiosity into a well-informed question.
Definitely. It's like with Wikipedia. No one goes to like the
Exactly.
Wikipedia homepage and is like, what am I going to explore today? You end
Yeah.
up on Wikipedia through search,
Yeah.
right? So you have that
And
query in
then,
mind.
but then you read
But
the whole page. You read the whole
of
page
course,
that's written for everybody, but not personalized to you. You care about only some parts of it, and that's why like we wanted to create this experience of a dynamic, personalized Wikipedia for you. Like you just get an article on the fly, you know.
have you
So
spoken with Jimmy Wales over there? And are they going to
yeah,
build their own GPT? What's going on with Wikipedia?
no, they're not going to build their own GPT. I've spoken to him, and he uses our product, and he likes our product a lot. And he used it when he was in Amsterdam and was looking for museums for his kids.
Hmm.
That was like within few meters from his hotel, and he said like Google sucked at it, and ChatGPT hallucinated, and like we got the answer right. So he really liked that
Yeah.
our product.
I'm surprised. I would think that they would build one.
He wanted to do some things like, oh, if I just wanted to create a perplexity like experience, but just on Wikipedia articles alone, how can I do that? He wanted to build something of that nature, which we already had, by the way. Like in our focus
Right.
searches, you could just pick one domain and ask questions. I told him about it, but he's like, I want it to be on Wikipedia.com. And I told him, hey, dude, like Wikipedia, people go there only through a search engine. They don't go there automatically and start exploring. But he's
Hmm.
like, okay, what if I had this on the Wikipedia domain? Then maybe people will do that. So that was his idea at that point. I don't know what's the status of that idea today.
Okay. So there's so many things that you're going to come up against. I mean, you're already coming up against in this battle. First is data, right? You have far less users, and we all know that Google, Microsoft, Bing even use the data that they have to refine their searches and that feedback to help improve the quality of results. So, what's your answer to them on that front?
I mean, like, I answer to them in what sense? Like,
How do you? I mean, how do you build with less data a product that's going to be more compelling?
yeah. So look, the whole amazing part about this generative AI is that um, it, it doesn't actually need as much user data as you think.
Mm. Yeah, share more
It's
about that
it's
because that's
it.
against the common
I
thought
mean,
about it.
that's why OpenAI is a disruption. Like, why should a research lab like OpenAI be able to create a better chatbot than Google that has like so much more data, or like Meta that has so much more chat data? The reason is that like we were able to learn this generic knowledge of like language itself, common sense understanding, just by predicting the next word on the internet. That is the GPT model. All it does is take all of the internet, curate it reasonably well so that you only train on signal instead of noise, and try to predict the next word from the previous words. But by doing that, you get such a good understanding of how the world works, how language works, basic common sense reasoning, mathematical reasoning, and that enables you, for the first time in decades, to be able to use little data, learn on the fly, and do a lot more things, right? So somebody who has access to such an amazing intelligence API, which has been exposed to all the developers in the world through OpenAI and Azure and things like that, can now uh, program it in ways they want. Program it for a search engine, program it for a companion bot, program it for a coding assistant. Now, all these things are possible with one generic intelligence layer. And also, companies like Meta have open sourced these weights, so you don't even the flexibility in the programming is even more than what it started off with. So for the first time, we have had intelligence outside Google, like artificial intelligence outside Google, that's of higher quality than what is inside Google, which a new startup like us is able to harness, take advantage, and get it out to the users before Google can. That's really what has happened. We benefited a lot from OpenAI and Meta all like making so much progress on large language models and getting them to the user base, developers, other smaller startups to build amazing products that could never have been done before with way less data because you can just few shot prompt it or like fine tune it on a small subset of data that you required. So the advantages that the incumbents had in terms of having a large volume of data has gone away. I'm not saying you don't need user data at all. All I'm saying is you need a fraction of what was needed earlier for the first time.
Arvind Srinivas is here with us. He's the CEO of Perplexity. We're going to keep up this conversation right after the break. And we're back here on Big Technology Podcast with Aravind Srinivas. He's the CEO of Perplexity, which is, I would call it the hottest AI startup in the world right now. It has 10 million users. It's a search tool that you have, a search engine that you could use, but it's more than search. And it's fascinating. We're just talking before the break about how you don't need as much data for Perplexity as you would for other applications. That is one of the innovations that we're seeing in AI. But what you do need is news, right? And you have a very interesting approach to UI where you'll put 4 links, not always news, sometimes it's a YouTube video. Like when I searched you on Perplexity, I found a couple of your YouTube interviews, and those go at the top. If you're not training on vast amounts of data, actually urgency and it being in the moment is crucial, I would imagine. I mean, you even look at some of the suggested searches you have, and that's there. I'm curious from your perspective, how do you think news and information creators are going to factor into this world? The Times is already suing OpenAI. I go back and forth because I run a content business about whether I should let these bots crawl or not. Talk a little bit about what you think there and who it actually benefits.
So our thinking here has been to rely on our background as academics. First of all, like when we launched and ChatGPT launched, one fundamental difference is we give people information on where the answer is coming from, the sources.
Right at the top, which I love.
Right at the top, the sources, the citations, right? And that, I believe, is a way to attribute the creator of the content. Okay, you know what? I'm not stealing your content. I'm actually attributing it to you. I'm telling the user exactly where it's coming from. And I'm going to drive traffic to you if they actually want to learn more about other stuff on that website. So in academia, this is a similar concept as writing a citation.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone's interested, they go and read the cited paper actually on their own. We don't have to like tell them to go read it. They read it on their own because they think it's important. And I think that's very fair use of other people's content. We're not stealing it. We're actually like just being a middleman between them and the end reader, and we're giving them more visibility, right? So it's a different kind of visibility. Until now, the internet economy has been built around like how much traffic am I getting. Now you're going to be like, how much awareness am I getting? How much awareness am I getting? Like how many times has some content on my site been viewed by people? It may not, it can be viewed in a different way too. It can be viewed through somebody else. It can be viewed directly on me. As long as the user knows it's from me, it's enough.
Right.
That's where we differ from Google or ChatGPT. Sorry, not Google. I guess Google Bard and ChatGPT. Google itself is going to be pretty transparent about the links, and our sense is also that the value of a link click on Perplexity will be more than
Right.
on Google.
You know, your
Because like
pitch.
someone has to be way higher intent
Yeah.
to still leave the site and go, right?
Your pitch is very similar to the one that publishers make to advertisers, that like it's not only about clicks, it is about awareness. And when you get traffic from a good publisher, it's going to be high quality traffic. That being said, like if you don't have eyeballs on your site, it's very difficult to make money from it. But we'll see how this plays out. I think it's still an open question.
It's an open question. I'll clearly establish that here that we don't have complete answers to all this today.
How are you thinking about making money? I mean, you have a pro version that's $20 a month. You don't have ads yet, but you talk very eloquently about the idea that you might eventually have ads and how that could be even better than your experience. You talked about Google earnings at the top. I mean, they just added an incremental $6 billion in advertising in the quarter, an incremental $6 billion. That would be the 11th biggest advertising business on the globe, period, outside of China, according to Brian Weiser from Madison and Wall. So people end up spending, what did we say, like 30 something minutes, 21 minutes and 58 seconds on Perplexity, and not just, zinging out to websites through Google. How are you going to make money on that? And how does that change the economics of the internet?
I think that we just need to rethink what advertising means, right? You go to the first principle of what advertising means. Advertising is a way for the creator of the content or the brand owner to maximize their awareness to the end user or viewership. Now, 10 blue links is one way to connect the reader and the creator, but not the most efficient way, right? The more efficient way is actually answering parts of what exists on your website to the end user directly. What exactly do you want the user to know about you, which you're putting on your site anyway? You don't have to tell us, you don't have to pay us for that. In fact, I believe it's fair. It's more fair to the advertiser to not be the middle guy telling, I know I'll figure out how to sort the order. You pay me money for that, but rather you write about yourself in the most honest, transparent way that you want the end user to know about you, and let the AI do the job of taking that and reaching the end user more efficiently than before.
But
and
advertising interrupts though. So it's very different to be like a blue link on the side or above versus you're having a conversation and then Perplexity ads come in and they're like, hey, wait a second. You should know about this.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is advertising has to be rethought from the perspective of, oh, I just want traffic versus I want more awareness. And what tools can I use to increase that? Right? How can I write the content on my website even better to reach the end user for certain kind of questions? And you are in charge of that yourself as a creator. You don't have to be under the mercy of someone creating an auction system and exploiting you. Right? By the way, the internet can be very fair. Perplexity is not trying to be creating $1 trillion economy on top of ads. Or on top of all the searches that we get, and trying to take all of it and not give away much to others. Nobody won, only Google won in the past era where, the telecom providers did not win, the publishers did not win. They took all the moolah out for themselves. We want to change that and create a more fair world. And that's why I think people will be more willing to work with us.
I mean, it also doesn't just change the traditional search model. It can change commerce too. I mean, if you think about it, if you're on Amazon, you can search Amazon and just type conversationally into a search bar there, and they're actually starting to do this. I think it's a product called Rufus, and that obviously minimizes their amount to make ads. But it's also, how do you think? Yeah, I'm curious. How do you think it's going to change e-commerce?
Well, I think it's all think about it as short term and long term, right?
Yep.
You may think it minimizes your ads, but what if people just purchase more because they're able to make better choices now?
Yep.
Right? Most of the time, people don't end up purchasing. They end up shopping a lot, but they don't actually make a purchase because they're not sure what to buy. But when you have a great shopping assistant that directly gets to what the user wanted, the conversion to a transaction could be much higher.
Right.
And the retention could be higher. The number of purchases, cumulative number of purchases could just get higher per user. And you don't have to rely on other people anymore. And you can just, and the merchants are happier, so they're willing to pay you a little more for being displayed on your site. So you can create a different kind of economy, right? So, by the way, for Amazon to do this is hard, obviously, because they do rely on advertising revenue on Amazon.com to keep Amazon.com profitable.
That's
So
the
they
thing.
have like similar problems to Google there.
Hmm.
But look, they are such a massive company and have revenue from AWS and like can definitely make up for like any short-term hits here.
You have Jeff Bezos as an investor.
Yeah, I
Have
do.
you made this argument to him?
No. I have. By the way, I want to establish that he doesn't, he's not like actively involved in Amazon, and his
Yeah, I know.
investment in us has
But he is
no
a chairman
ties.
there.
He's chairman, but his investment in us has nothing to do with us
Amazon.
working with Amazon. It's an independent investment.
How did you recruit Bezos, or did he just come in the front door? I'm sure it's a great story.
No, it's not as crazy as you think. Like we got connected to his Bezos Expeditions Fund, and
Hmm.
um, you know, obviously in his style, they asked us for like
A memo.
memo, and like so that was sort of the process, and we had a pitch deck and all that, and like demo and all these things. But yeah, they made a decision very fast, and it definitely changed our fortune in terms of being seen as a widely aware, like the awareness that we got through his investment is tremendous.
Interesting. Very quickly as we come into a landing, you worked at OpenAI.
Hmm.
I guess like the fashionable thing would be to ask you about their governance troubles. So if you want to comment on that, fine. But what I'm hearing about from them is they keep signaling that huge stuff is coming down the pike this year. Just like the way that they're talking is that it sounds like some serious advances are going to happen this year. Do you have any sense as to what those might be? And I don't understand like what could inspire such talk? Is it a much? I mean, if it's a slightly
Hmm.
better GPT model, okay, but it sounds like something more.
I mean, I don't know what has been said publicly. Maybe you hear something more privately, but I guess I'll just go by what Sam Altman told Bill Gates. I mean, I was listening to it like 2 days ago, which
Yep.
is um, they'll have a lot more reliable models. So right now, sometimes 1 in 10 or 1 in 100 completions of a GPT-4 model is hallucinatory, can say arbitrary things. It's not reliable. It's not deterministic programs. So I think they'll address that. They'll also address the fact of the models being like more multimodal. Like right now, it supports image as an input, but the most general version will support audio, video as inputs and also as outputs, well interfaced with text. I think they'll make some advances there. I think the third thing they'll make some advancements on is reasoning. I mean, whatever reasoning
Mm.
GPT-4 is able to exhibit today is already amazing, but it's still pretty limited. And I think they'll make some more progress there in terms of multi-step reasoning and like doing back and forth thinking. You want models to be able to like think for a while and then come back and give you some things, right? So they'll
Mhm.
probably make more progress on those things. And I guess the fourth thing that Altman mentioned was like just like reducing the costs. Oh, sorry, increasing the personalization of all these models so that people can program all these things in a more reliable way. Like for example, why should all the products built on GPT-4 respond in the same way with the same style of like moralizing the user and like
Right.
telling them what not to ask and like same kind of like diplomatic positioning of things. You want to have like more variety and diversity in the product experiences created on top of GPT-4, and I think that is something they'll probably address. Long context reasoning, things like that. So these are all like when I say these things, it looks boring to you, right? Long context, better models, better reasoning, more reliability, multimodal. Like such boring answers, but when
I
these
don't think it's
actually
boring.
happen
Yeah.
together, when these all really happen at the same time, it'll look like next generation model dropped.
With Anthropic, what do you think about the Claude model, and does it hold a candle to GPTs?
So far, not, to
Hmm.
be very honest. But I'll tell you one thing:
Hmm.
they there are people in the world who actually like Claude a lot more than GPT in terms of response styles and eloquence. they like Claude a lot more. It's more natural. It feels more like talking to a human than to an AI if you talk to Claude. So we offer Claude as an option on the Perplexity product for pro users. And I know like a lot of people who still use Claude instead of GPT-4, even though GPT-4 is a more capable reasoner, because they like the way Claude responds. So Anthropic certainly has something. Now, can they create a model better than GPT-4? I definitely think they can, and if they don't, they are kind of doomed. In fact, this year in 2024, if they don't create a model better than GPT-4, all the funding and the race is not being put to good use. But I actually think they will end up creating a model better than GPT-4 this year. Like it's sort of almost guaranteed to happen. So I believe it's going to happen with Claude 3. Now, does that mean OpenAI is in trouble? I don't think so either. I'm sure there's a GPT 4.5 or 5 that will stay ahead. So it really is going to be a cat and mouse game there where Anthropic is playing catch up and OpenAI is ahead through multimodal capabilities, reasoning capabilities, and things like that. Now, the question is like, how long can OpenAI keep on staying in the lead? If the delta between them and their competitors is slowly reducing, what is
Yeah.
the thing that's going to keep them ahead?
I
That's
don't
what
think
I'm
they
not
will
clear.
be able to. What do you think?
And when Llama 3 comes out, and Llama 3 is as good as Claude 3 or very close to GPT-4, and the weights are just given out to everybody, it threatens the whole economy that these companies are creating through APIs. It doesn't demolish it because just because somebody gave you the weights doesn't mean you can take it and serve inference yourself. You still need someone to serve inference for you in a more sufficient way, and like all the trickery to like make an inference efficient is still not like easy or open source. But it certainly reduces the monopoly power of like these closed source model providers. And Google is also going to play in that market through Gemini as an API too, right? So it's going to be interesting to see. I think OpenAI's value will lie in the ChatGPT product itself, the end-to-end product, and they're going to face competition there too. Like Meta is going to have their own AI assistant. There's Bard. There's all sorts of like Microsoft has
Bing.
Bing Chat, Copilot. So it's a market. It's a tough market. It's like there are a few players, and they're all going to keep competing. And like who's really winning? Consumers
Yeah. And NVIDIA.
and Nvidia, exactly. So everybody's using Nvidia. I mean, of course, Google doesn't use Nvidia chips, and
Right.
um, I guess Sam Altman is trying to create his own chip company and things like that. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right, Arvind, I know you are pressed for time. Keep shipping. And if people
Thank you.
want to check out Perplexity, where can they find it?
Perplexity.ai.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for joining. I hope it's not the last time. Really illuminating conversation. Great point to end on. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Alex.
All right, everybody, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on Big Technology Podcast.